What's going on, everybody? Gentleman94 here. Welcome back to part 4 of our Sci-Fi Wednesdays Viper Mk VII build. As you can see here, I've got the engines completed. I've got the top part of the hull here. Put that aside. Last time we put on all these little piping things here, the center supports. All these are good to go. I'm not going to do anything with them right now, but it's good to know we have them done. Let's go ahead and check out here. We're going to work on the cockpit today. We're going to get the flight control center more or less dialed in, and that's going to be kind of tough to do because it's nothing like it's supposed to look. So we're going to need a few parts. You got the tub, the seat, the rear wall, and then of course the front head-up display area. So let's go ahead and cut these sections out. That's the first thing we want to do. One of the things I noticed about this cockpit is it's just, like I said, it doesn't look anything like it's supposed to look. You look at pictures from the show, you look at pictures from the studio models and things, and this doesn't even come close to looking like it's supposed to. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. We're going to have to come back through, and we're going to have to basically scratch build everything. Now you can buy a photo etched update kit for this model, and that's going to run you probably about $25 to $30, at least as far as I've seen. And yeah, that's what the kit cost. So I don't really want to spend $60 on the kit, with like an update photo etch section. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go ahead and scratch build this to the best of my abilities, which, I'm not going to promise you a whole bunch of cool stuff here, but hopefully it's going to look all right. And we might want to smoke the inside of the canopy slightly to go ahead and kind of conceal any trouble we may run into. Let's just piece these together real quick, do a little dry fitting here. As you can see, this is kind of what it looks like here, and then it's going to fit up into the underside of the fuselage top here. Let's see if I can get these here. There's 3 locating pins, rather large circular locating pins, and they don't really want to fit in there very well, but there we go. So you kind of get an idea. That's what it looks like. Now it's not that great. There's only one side console for some reason. The front head-up display area doesn't look anything like it's supposed to, like I said. So that's going to have to be fixed. I mean, what does it have to be? But let's just put it this way. I want to fix it. It's going to look a whole lot better. So this is what it looks like in this show. You can see it's got these head-up display areas. It's got the little keyboard coming out the front. It's got 2 center consoles. Kind of an angled section. It's got 2 sidewall here. So that's kind of what it looks like, and it doesn't look anything like that in the actual ship. So all of that, we're going to have to change it. So let's see what we can come up with. How hard can it be, really? So first things I want to do is just clean this up a little bit here. Not that it really matters, but let's check the seat. The seat also is a little too upright. I'm going to make a few relief cuts in the back corner, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of pivot that back a little bit, kind of give it a slight more relaxed look to it. It's just way too upright. I don't like how it looks. Let's see here, and get the back firewall, whatever they call it. Strip off some of the extra here. This part, I don't have any complaints about this part. This is a fairly simple little part here. It's just going to be in the background. So not that big of a deal. And then let's see here. Let's get out my jeweler files. We're definitely going to use these jeweler files to go ahead and fix up some of these rounded parts here. We're going to need those also when we work with the strip styrene that we're going to have to kind of cut and measure. Okay, so this is what I've been kind of thinking here. We've got several, excess parts that we can use. I pulled some spares out of my spares box. I've got a photo etch set from a P39 Era Cobra, which maybe I could do something with. I've got a couple other areas, one from an A4 and one from an F84 F made by Heller. I was thinking we might be able to use some of these parts here, but I'm really interested in this cockpit tub out of this F84F. The reason being is it's got these sidewalls, and these have no sidewalls whatsoever here. There's no consoles on the side of the cockpit wall, and I don't like that. But I've got this extra Heller kit here that I'm not going to use, so I'm thinking slice this up, cut off these side panel area here, and glue those to the inside of the Viper cockpit. Now granted, it's not going to be exactly as it is in the show, the miniseries, or anything like that. But it's going to look close enough. That's kind of my goal, is to get it to look as close as I can to it without having to go out and buy a bunch of extra parts. So we'll just see what we can come up with. Alright, so I suppose the first thing we should probably do is let's go ahead and let's kind of sand down this front console area right in here. Because it's got a keyboard that comes out from the center console, and the center console is not stepped like it is here. So we're going to go ahead and take this down to a nice, flush, even slope. At least that's kind of what I'm thinking we're gonna try. So I got my jeweler file here, and the jeweler file is not really going to cut it. I think we're going to have to go to something a little tougher. But you can kind of get the idea. We're just going to sand this all the way down and see if it doesn't improve things. We'll use an emery board just to make sure we really get this cut down quickly. Let's go ahead and sand this down, and I'll be right back and show you what I've come up with. Really hope this works, guys, because I don't want to ruin my entire model. You know, worst case, I just frost the canopy, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. Okay, so we are back, and I'm actually going to cut down the sidewalls here of the Heller cockpit tub for the F-84F. We're just going to slice these off. And I'm pretty sure I can use these. It's always good to keep your spare parts, guys. You know, it's come in handy more than once for me. And even in a kit like this, I mean, this is 1/32 scale, but hopefully these sidewalls here will be decent enough. It'll give the impression of having gauges and dials on the side of the cockpit wall. And this is really not that difficult. We'll just use our flush cuts and just snip these guys right off here. Don't need the base there. Toss that aside. I've also got my phone next to me for any sort of reference shots. And yeah, we should be good. Just clean up this area a little bit with some filing. And use the flush cuts again here. We're going to have to trim this down. We're going to have to actually cut this, a good portion of this, in half. And we don't want it to stick too far out where the pilot sits. So we want to go ahead and cut these down and make sure these are really, really kind of in there so that he's snug, but he's not shoved around in, inside and sitting in his chair. So I want it to look good. A little test fit here. Yeah, I could see that working. So you can see I wasn't able to really take all that off, and it's not really looking very good. So what I want to do is I want to remove the entire front section. And I'm really nervous about doing that, because if I do that, yeah, I might actually damage the cockpit tub past anything I can do to fix it. But it's just so wrong, and it's bugging me so much. I think we're going to have to do something about it. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to use my flush cuts, and we're just going to go ahead and just start opening up sections and cutting out this giant lump of plastic. This is going to be kind of heavy-handed, to be honest, because this is some thick plastic, so we're going to just kind of cut away and chop into it, and we'll fix anything else after this. We'll sand it down with our jeweler files and take our emery board to it if we need to. I'm just going to go ahead and just cut out the entire center console. We'll have to scratch build the entire area, but I think we can get away with that. So again, flush cuts come in really handy here. We're just going to use this and kind of just slice off different sections of the center console. And looking pretty good. Wish I kind of had longer flush cuts. Just have the standard ones here. It's not as easy to work with, but it should be alright. Let's come down from the top here. And just, there we go. So I'm just going to continue just cutting away at the center console, and we'll be right back and show you what I've come up with. Hopefully I haven't completely destroyed it by the time I come back. Alright guys, we are back, and as you can see here, I have removed the entire front section of the cockpit tub. There is no more center console. That's all that's left of it is just in pieces here on my workbench. Now we're going to have to go ahead and clean up a little bit. Some of the edges are kind of rough, and we're going to rebuild kind of the backing to it so we have something that we can glue to. But it's not too bad. I think it's going to work out pretty well, and you can kind of get an idea of the seat. Recline the seat slightly by cutting a couple relief holes in the back of the seat area, seat support. So that's done. A little nervous about it, but it's looking good. Center consoles are going to be replaced there. Side consoles will be glued in. And I think we're looking pretty good. I'm going to use the flush cuts and just clean up a little bit more, though, because it needs a little more work. And, of course, I'll have to pull out my jeweler files and my emery board as well. So I'll go ahead and clean up some stuff here, and we'll be right back. We'll see what trouble I've got myself into. Okay, guys, we are back. And as you can see here, I have glued in a strip of styrene in the very back of the cockpit tub. Now, this is going to act as kind of a support for anything we glue on top of it. And the sidewalls here, I'm thinking we're probably going to start gluing those on as well. But I have to make sure that wherever I glue these, they're not going to come in contact with the pilot or the seat. And the pilot, you have two choices here. You can do Starbuck or you can do Apollo. I'm actually going to do the Apollo figure because Starbuck I want to have in my Viper Mark II. That's also one day I'd like to build that. So I want her in that one because that was kind of her aircraft that she flew. The Mark VII feels more Apollo to me, so I'm going to go with that. And we can kind of get an idea. We put the chair in here, and we kind of get an idea where the side consoles are going to go. And let's just toss the pilot in there. This is the pilot. And it's difficult to get everything in here without everything falling out, but we'll do our best. All right, there we are. And let's see how these look. Yeah, I don't think I can go too low with these, but I can't go too high with these either. So that's going to be a little tricky, I think. Alright. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to tack these in. We might have to make alterations in them, but we'll see what we can come up with here in a second. Do a little work off camera, figure out what I'm supposed to be doing with these. We'll be right back, guys. Okay, we have the side consoles glued in place. I've also glued in the head-up display and the backing for whatever center consoles we're going to make and scratch build. Got the chair and the pilot in there. It's going to be okay. I think it's going to look decent. Of course, if I can paint the pilot, that's a different story. But for the most part, I think we're pretty good. And what I've done here is I've created the center console side panels. They're going to go up to the right, to the left of the main display. These are going to be just glued in, and they're going to host numerous switches and dials and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and glue those down in there, and then we're going to have to come up with the actual center display. In the Viper Mark VII, you have a giant screen in front of you that shows your situational awareness and the whole sort of thing. So I'm thinking maybe a nice flat piece of styrene. What I've been doing to make some of these parts, guys, I've just been kind of taking a measurement of how wide an area I've got, and then I'm just kind of using this drafting pencil and I'm just kind of sketching what I think it's going to look like. And then I cut it down with some scissors, and then I test fit it. If it's too big, I slice it down. If it's too small, I go back to the drawing board, make it slightly bigger. So it's not really an exact science. I'm just kind of eyeing it, piecing parts and parts together. So as you can see here, I'm just going to make a quick sketch of what I think the part's going to look like using a measurement that I had previously. And I'll take our scissors here. These are some old scissors. I had these since I was a kid. And we'll just go ahead and cut this part off here, just along my pencil lines. There we go. And let's see, here it is. So let's go ahead and cut off the very tip of that as well. And then we'll test fit and see if it is the correct shape and size. Get my tweezers here. And let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that'll work. Cool. I'm going to plug away off camera and we'll be right back. Okay guys, so as you can see, this is what the Viper Mark VII cockpit looks like. You can see again, we've got that huge center front display. We've got the little side walls area here on the left and right of the center display. We've got a keyboard in front of us. So that's kind of what we're shooting for. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to get it exactly like this. It might be slightly out of scale in certain respects, but I think we're going to come hopefully close to this. So what I've done here is I've made a few extra parts, and I'm kind of sanding things down, and I'm fitting things together. And let's see here. Trying to fit these all together is not an easy thing. But I think we're doing all right. I think everything's fitting well enough. It's a lot of trial and error, dry fitting, really making sure that your parts are fitting all together. So we're just going to attach these in here, maneuver them around so that they are lined up where we want them to go. There we are. Let's go ahead and show you there. You can see we've got the sidewalls and the center console, as well as the keyboard little section that will stick out in front. And then the pilot, Apollo in this case, is going to sit down right in there. And we have something that looks like this. It looks decent. It looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and hit this with some paint and all that, and then we're going to come up with ways that we can actually put in some markings to this. That's going to be the difficult part, because this doesn't come with decals that are going to be big enough to fit with everything. So, again, that's going to be a little difficult. Last step I wanted to go ahead and do is I fared in the head-up display, so I can have something I can go and put on that. And then the front giant display with the side consoles and the keyboard and all of that looks pretty good. I like it. I think it's come along nicely. Did a few little parts and pieces off camera, but yeah, we're looking good. Let's go ahead and fit it into the top of the fuselage and see how we come up. And there we are. So guys, it gives you an idea kind of what I've come up with. I don't know if it's perfect and all that. It'll look a lot better once I start getting parts and decals glued in there and all that. We'll tackle that next time though. I've already used a lot of daylight building this cockpit up, so we're going to go ahead and call it next time. I got some paint already mixed up, ready to paint, so we'll hit that off camera. We'll come back next time and I'll show you what I come up with. We also might use a dark gray for some accents as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a success, I think. Worked out well. Everything seems to fit nicely. It looks close to what it's supposed to look like. And yeah, we'll go ahead and just let it dry, and I'll be back next time, guys, with part 5 of our Sci-Fi Wednesday Viper Mk VII build. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and keep modeling. We'll see you soon.